Syria's victory strikes Fabius with the hysteria that reveals his complicity with the terrorists. Syrian Arab army continues operations against the terrorists in Damascus and Aleppo and pounds the terrorist gatherings, destroying their weapons in Dar'a and Homs. Prime Minister al-Halaqi inaugurates the Company of Medical Care for Health Insurance and inspects the work in the Popular Credit Bank in Abu Rouhani. Seizing stolen archaeological pieces that have been robbed by the terrorists and hidden in one of their hideouts in Palmyra orchards with the aim of smuggling them abroad. The Ministry of Tourism organizes a tour entitled Syria Rises Again to the city of Sednaya in Damascus to encourage domestic tourism. Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Irado Krikorian from the News Center in Damascus. President Bashar al-Assad issued legislative decree number 22 of the year 2014, stipulating for granting a general amnesty for the crimes committed before the 9th of June 2014. Justice Minister Dr. Najm al-Ahmad said that the legislative decree number 22 on the 9th of June 2014, which was issued by President al-Assad, came within the context of social tolerance and national cohesion and on the backdrop of the victories achieved by the Syrian Arab army in all fields. This decree included a general amnesty for the crimes committed before the date of issuance, including the majority of the crimes of various kinds and degrees, starting with the strongest felonies punished by the death penalty into the simple violations and breaches. The decree also included rehabilitation measures and care for juveniles in misdemeanor and touched upon the humanitarian aspects, especially in the cases of the sick and the elderly who are persecuted, in addition to carrying and possession of weapons illegally, as well as the crimes of avoiding military service, whether by escaping inside the country or abroad. The effect of the amnesty decree has ranged to include the full punishment for certain crimes, while part of it in other crimes, according to the partial description and the extent of the act and its relation to social security. The amnesty decree gave an opportunity for everyone, whether hidden or being a fugitive escaping from justice, to settle his case according to its provisions. The amnesty decree didn't exempt from including in its provisions, but only a very limited number of crimes, such as crimes of treason, espionage, and the dangerous terrorist crimes, especially that have led to death or permanent disability to the victims, and some of the crimes against the honor which are rejected by the Syrian society. President Bashar al-Assad received a cable from President of the Islamic Republic of Iran, Hassan Rouhani, congratulating him for winning the presidential elections, stressing that holding the election successfully has embodied the will of the Syrian people to boost presence on the political arena and to determine by themselves for their own future. President Rouhani emphasized that the results of the elections have demonstrated the Syrian people's trust in President Bashar al-Assad and their intention to move towards stability, security, and national reconciliation, expressing full confidence that Syria, by the wisdom of President al-Assad, will overcome the crisis peacefully and will continue through more popular participation to proceed firmly on the road of national reconciliation and economic development. Minister of Information, Mr. Omran al-Zu'bi, has said that the statements made by the French Foreign Minister Laurent Fabius reflect the deep collusion with the terrorist organizations fighting in Syria. Responding to Fabius' statements, al-Zu'bi added that Fabius' statements express his ethical attitudes and contradict the decorum of the political and diplomatic rhetoric, which is another evidence that the colonial scheme hatched against Syria and the region has been defeated, and that the Syrian people's will will has triumphed. He further pointed out that the French people should realize that their history and identity completely contradict their government's policy, which backs terrorism.
That France's Foreign Minister Fabius is a Jewish who is obsessed with serving the best interests of the Zionist entity and backing its expansionist policy, killing people, displacing them, and violating human rights. Among Fabius's friends inside the French Socialist Party are Bernard Kouchner and Bernard Henry Lévy, who are both ardent and devoted supporters of Zionism and the so-called the Arab Spring. Observers agree that appointing Fabius as the head of the French diplomacy was a gesture of gratitude for the support of the Zionist lobby that backed François Hollande in the presidential elections. Fabius's history is full of shameful acts, atop of which was the scandal that shocked France in 1991, and the first culprit was Fabius himself, who was charged of selling a huge quantity of blood of people infected with AIDS to the Arab countries and other European countries, which claimed the lives of more than 4,000 people. What is even more disgraceful was to see Fabius doing his utmost, seeking to impose a new mandate on Syria and to curb the aspirations of the Syrian people in choosing their representatives. Fabius and his Socialist Party have been dealt a severe blow when they lost this year in municipality elections to the French right, along with a mounting deterioration of the party's popularity, attributed by the French Le Figaro magazine to mounting concerns of the French vis-à-vis their government's foreign policy, regarded by many as not serving the best interests of the French people. Moreover, the financial scandal that has been disclosed lately about the fraud of the former Minister of Finance, who was the main funder of Hollande's electoral campaign, and the fact that Fabius comes first as the wealthiest minister with more than 6 million euros has aroused utter discontent among the French. Fabius falsely claims that he is keen on the prosperity and welfare of the Syrian people, but he and his government never stopped to support al-Qaeda-linked terrorists who killed the Syrians with hundreds of tons of lethal weapons sent to them by France and other states, violating even the basic international laws and the norms of the diplomatic rhetoric.
In Melbourne, the Syrian community and members of the Australians for Syria organization celebrated al-Assad's win in the presidential elections. The participants, waving Syrian flags and carrying posters of President al-Assad, stressed their full support to the policies of President al-Assad until victory is reached and terrorism is eradicated. Welcome back. Syrian Arab army units targeted the terrorist gatherings and hideouts, killing many terrorists and injuring others in Dar al-Balad and its countryside. Syrian Arab army units killed many terrorists in Tal Ahmar Sharqi and in the southeastern part of Atman, as well as in the area of Al-Kassara on Zamrin Salmin crossroads, also in the neighborhood of Al-Bajaje in Dar al-Balad. In addition to that, Syrian Arab army units destroyed a van carrying terrorists, killing all inside in the village of Al-Dwaye Al-Kabira in Dar'a's western countryside. In Aleppo and its countryside, Syrian Arab army units destroyed several vehicles for the terrorist groups, killing all terrorists inside. A military source said that Syrian Arab army targeted the terrorists, killing many of them and injuring others in Al-Jandul, Mari'a, Tal Qrah, Hretan, Handarat, Khan al-Asal, Rasm al-Aboud, Kweris and Hanano. Syrian Arab army units also eliminated many terrorists in Tal Rifat, Hayyan, Daret Azza, Babis, the industrial city, Al-Layramun, Al-Rashidin, Al-Zahra, Bustan al-Qasr and Bustan al-Basha. In Damascus countryside, the Syrian Arab Army units eliminated and injured members of armed terrorist groups in the northern farms of al-Mleha and on the axis of Jisrin town. Meanwhile, other Syrian Arab Army units destroyed terrorists then with what it has of weapons, ammunition and terrorists in Ain Tarma Valley and killed terrorists in An-Nashabiyya farms in the depth of eastern Ghouta. The Syrian Arab Army demolished an armed terrorist group hideout in Zamalka, killing and injuring its members, including Jihad Hamad and Jalal al-Tawil. Authorities in Palmyra in Homs countryside seized 8 archaeological pieces dating back to the 2nd century. The armed terrorist groups had stolen from several archaeological sites and transferred them to one of their hideouts in Palmyra woods in order to smuggle them outside Syria. Palmyra Museum curator Khalil al-Hariri said the pieces date back to 2nd century and they include 2 drawings depicting 2 women from Palmyra wearing traditional clothes and jewelry. He added that the museum received these pieces and they were documented. A source in the province said that last April the authorities in Palmyra seized 5 archaeological artifacts said to be smuggled by terrorists outside the country. The Antiquities Department in Palmyra city is working in cooperation with authorities on protecting archaeological sites, museums and warehouses in the area. Authorities also seized 14 archaeological artifacts in the area. Another 15 artifacts were seized before being smuggled by terrorists on April 1st. Finally, Minister of Tourism held a tourist tour in Sednaya city to activate internal tourism. The tour, titled Syria Shines Once Again, included visits to Sednaya and Ma'aret Sednaya monasteries. Head of the tourist promotion at the Tourism Ministry said that the tour aims at reviving the internal tourism, which was declined due to the crisis in the country. With this, we end our news for today. Thank you for watching. For more details about Syria and the region and to view this bulletin again, you can always visit our website in English, syriaonline.sy. Now to latest business and market news with Vani Genjan, but after a short break.